Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Ethan Youker. Exciting show lined up. Let's get right in it. A new book exploring the history of vaccines has exposed how most of their development through the years has been a matter of guesses, gambles, and wild experimentation. Joining us to discuss is John Leake, author of Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you discuss in your book some of the failures that aren't mentioned about vaccines. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that the enterprise of vaccines goes back to the early 18th century with a smallpox inoculation procedure, fancy word that doctors used at the time was variolation, inoculating a patient with just a small amount of the disease-causing matter that was being harvested from the pustules of people who were actively suffering from smallpox. The mechanism of action was not understood. The causative agent was not understood. It wouldn't be understood for another 200 years. But kind of a basic observation that, maybe this a kind of mild illness caused by inoculation will protect the person from a more severe illness. So this idea of inoculation catches on. It particularly catches on with vaccination at the end of the 18th century with Edward Jenner using cowpox. Remember, the word vaccine actually comes from the Latin word for cow, vacca. So using cowpox to inoculate against the more severe smallpox. So mankind fell in love with this concept and was very passionate about it. The problem with falling in love is it makes you rather biased. It has in many ways been a matter of wild guesses and gambles all the way up until the COVID-19 messenger RNA vaccine program in 2021, which was really the essence of gambling.
You go on to describe how the contribution of the vaccine to society has been grossly exaggerated. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, what we see with the elevation of living standards towards the end of the 19th and particularly during the first half of the 20th century, what we see is dramatic improvements in water purification, sewage channelization, especially nutrition. I mean, we forget today that the urban poor in the 19th century in cities like London and New York, I mean, they were oftentimes hungry. Very poor housing. In the wintertime, people were quite cold and, huddling together in their little tenement buildings. So with the drastic improvement of living standards, nutrition, and sanitation, you see already by the time we get to 1948, which was the year the modern vaccine schedule was really introduced with DPT, infectious disease mortality had already plummeted in most of these diseases by over 95%. And that's evident just from looking at vital statistics of the cause of death. By the time we get to the end of the 20th century, people have sort of forgotten that, and all credit is given to vaccines for the retreat of infectious disease mortality.
So we've talked about measles on the show before, and we're hearing a lot about measles in the news nowadays. I'm not sure what the statistics are, but do you think these new outbreaks are because of vaccine hesitancy?
There are a few elements to measles. First of all, it's important to understand that it was a much, much more virulent disease in the 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries than it was, say, by the time you get to the 50s and by the year 1962, which was just before the measles vaccine was introduced. So just quickly take the decade between 52 and 62. That's the decade before the measles vaccine was introduced. Well, case fatality for measles was already far less than 1 in 1,000. But you would never know that today. We would believe from media reporting it was this devouring killer of children before the vaccine was introduced in 63. So that's mortality. In terms of case counts, yes, the measles vaccine has dramatically reduced case counts. I never got measles because I got the measles vaccine. Now, I did get chicken pox because I was born before the chicken pox vaccine. But this has grossly exaggerated the danger of measles. The measles vaccine has definitely reduced case counts, but it's not a perfect vaccine either. And I think if you look at the majority of measles cases that are occasionally reported with these outbreaks, a significant portion of those people were actually vaccinated. The devil's in the details, but you would never know that from our reporting that we get on most media channels.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with John Leake after this. You are watching American Medicine Today. Don't be screwed by lesser spine institutes who bait you with minimally invasive procedures, then switch to screws, rods, disc replacements, and hardware. At Bonati, no metal hardware fusions are ever used. Bonati invented the precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati Spine Procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. We're continuing our discussion with John Leake. Why don't you tell us your thoughts about Bill Gates and his apparent obsession with these COVID shots? And then if we can actually branch off from there and talk about how Biden went ahead and pardoned Fauci. What do you think about that? Was that legal?
Well, so two pieces to your question. Bill Gates, Bill Gates is this sort of high commercial priest of vaccines. He was our entree into this. He wrote a blog post in April of 2020 saying, look, the whole world is locked down. It's been turned on its head. The only way we'll go back to normal is when everyone on the planet gets the new COVID vaccine. So I actually saw that at the time. I thought that's just extraordinary. First of all, the COVID-19 vaccine, as far as we know, has not been developed yet. Moderna and the NIAID were working on one, but it hadn't gone through trials. He himself has gone on Squawk Box. He's in Davos, I think it was December of 2019, saying vaccines are my greatest investment. So, Gates is this old monopolist. He was public enemy number one back in 98, 99, and 2000 for his monopolistic practices. And now he's saying all of mankind needs to get this vaccine that hasn't even been developed yet. So this is where we thought a lot of this stuff is just downright nuts. And that really prompted us to do a deep examination of this whole enterprise, which we concluded, and we believe the reader will see in our book. This is a very corrupt enterprise. It's been heavily corrupted by commercial interests. It's not really about the science. And then in terms of, I am science, Anthony Fauci. Mm-hmm. I'm not an attorney, but he had not yet been accused of any, violations of the law. Mm-hmm. Well, what are we to make of a preemptive pardon? I personally believe there's a sufficient evidence to, at least open an investigation with probable cause of multiple legal violations, starting with his fraudulent concealment of the origin of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. He played an instrumental role in concealing the origin of it. He funded, his NIAID funded Ralph Barrett's, the UNC North Carolina Chapel Hill virologist who was doing gain of function on SARS coronaviruses. The NIAID grandfathered Ralph Barrett's work, so that he wasn't subjected to the pause on gain of function. And so there's Fauci getting up before Congress saying there was no gain of function. Well, I mean, it's in the grants that Ralph Baric was doing. I mean, he himself plainly states that he's doing it. So, and then the other thing that Fauci did was he played an instrumental role in suppressing early home treatment.
Yes.
I mean, he came out and aggressively suppressed hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. He also advanced remdesivir, even though there was an abundance of evidence that even the WHO acknowledged that for hospitalized patients, particularly the old and frail, remdesivir causes kidney damage, which it did, by the way. So, altogether, I mean, I think he once said that his favorite character in literature and film is Don Corleone in The Godfather. So I think that was an accurate confession. I think he just stated, who he really is.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but real quick, where can people get your book?
I mean, I think the best place is Amazon. Some of the buyers for bookstores, they inaccurately think it's an anti-vax book. In fact, it's just a critical evaluation. There's nothing anti about it. We're just bringing it into the light of day. So your best bet is Amazon. It'll be on your porch the next day.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, John Leake, for being on the program, author of Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll have more after the break. You are watching American Medicine Today.
My name is Kris Kern. I'm from Central Ohio. Been a volleyball coach now for 44 years. I was in a wheelchair. My players would put a desk in the gym so I could coach. I was not hearing what I wanted to hear. You're going to be unable to walk.
Kris was facing the unthinkable, endless pain and a lifetime of medication bound to a wheelchair. Traditional treatments failed him, and his doctors all said there was nothing more they could do.
I was having excruciating pain in my legs, in my groin, and in my hips. I was only able to stand in a shower for 5 or 10 seconds and then had to go lay back down. So I went to every doctor around in Kentucky, even came to hospitals in West Virginia and in Ohio. Everyone told me, you're just going to have to be medicated. I felt like a zombie. They couldn't find anything wrong. It was just an ongoing thing where it kept getting worse.
For the coach, being trapped in a wheelchair and eating pain pills wasn't an option. He needed a solution.
I had been the winningest high school coach in Ohio history. As a high school coach, moved on to college, had a great career at West Virginia State. And when I moved on to Kentucky, I was just in tremendous pain. I remember doing post-game interviews, and it was only 2 steps up into the bleachers. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get up there. I was hopeless.
Desperate, Kris started researching and found something different: the Bonati Spine Institute. Unlike traditional spine surgeries, the exclusive Bonati Spine Procedures don't use fusion or hardware. Instead, they target the exact source of pain and eliminate it, all while preserving the body's natural mobility.
I started doing some research, and that's how I found Dr. Bonati. I sent Dr. Bonati my MRI. My phone rang with a 727 number, and I answered it. It was him. He said, "Coach, I can help you."
After speaking to Dr. Bonati, Kris made the trip to Hudson, Florida, where the Bonati Spine Institute's pioneering techniques offered hope no one else could.
So I landed in Tampa. I couldn't hardly walk to get in. Dr. Bonati performed a series of surgeries one day apart. And at the end of that week that I was at Hudson, Florida, I was able to walk again. And it happened to be on Friday at the Tampa Convention Center. I was getting an award for, 800 or 900 coaching wins. And I stood up, walked up on stage, and got this national award. And I could not have done that without Alfred Bonati.
Nearly 2 years later, Kris remains pain-free with no fusion, no hardware, and no restrictions holding him back.
And today I guess it's been a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. I don't even remember because I haven't had any pain. So I've lost track of time, but I'm still pain-free today. I get up every morning, promise you, I say, thank you, God, for my mobility. No one knows how it is without it.
Even the doctors who once doubted now believe, because the truth is undeniable.
My doctor in Kentucky saw me at a basketball game after my procedure, and he said, "What are you doing?" Like, almost like he couldn't believe his eyes. He has since sent 2 patients to Dr. Bonati because of what happened to me.
For Kris, the patented Bonati Spine Procedures didn't just eliminate the pain, they gave him his life back.
The week that I was at Dr. Bonati's, he just saved my life. So I'm very, very grateful, and that's the truth.
To see more stories of recovery just like this, search for the Bonati Spine Institute on YouTube, Rumble, Apple's App Store, Google's Play Store, Roku, and Amazon's Fire TV. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of American Medicine Today. If you would like to see previous programs, add American Medicine Today to your favorite streaming app. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the numbers below. Or you can tweet at Dr. Bonati using the hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you.